is all the profit I made in 1 year on TikTok. To make a long story short, I made hundreds of calls, pulled a lot of all-nighters, and studied enough of TikTok's For You page to put Einstein's research to shame. I'm gonna break down the entire unexpected journey in today's video, but first, let me set the stage with some context. In 2020, I began uploading videos to YouTube that were simply intended to share my discoveries on TikTok. I'd recently been studying the platform very diligently and carefully, and recently had grown an account to 100,000 followers within the time frame of a single week, and I wanted to share the blueprint that I'd used to build that account. I wasn't monetizing TikTok at all during this stage. Then TikTok announced the launch of their Creator Fund, which allowed creators to receive 1 to 5 cents per every 1,000 views on their videos, and I had the idea of starting a few theme pages on TikTok in popular categories that were well known to pull in a lot of views. Fast forward a few months later, I scaled one of these accounts to 250,000 followers and generated a measly $416 from the Creator Fund. Ended up selling the account to a friend for a few $1,000s, but those early TikTok profits, they inspired me, and I had the ambitious objective of generating $100,000 from TikTok in 2021. That was my ambitious goal. I was gonna do everything in my power to monetize the platform. Full beast mode, my sights were dialed in. That was my objective. Well, nothing could have prepared me for what would happen over the following year. So January rolls around and I see my first big opportunity. Up until this point, I'd been receiving emails pretty much on a daily basis from creators who would watch my videos and offer to pay me to audit their TikTok accounts or to give them a tour of the app. I thought to myself, hey, of course I'm willing to help, why not? What I ended up doing was actually offering over 100 of these calls completely pro bono for free before I started even charging. No cap, I felt a little bit of imposter syndrome at first, and I wanted to make sure that I actually had real solutions to the problems that these creators would schedule these calls to discuss. So these first 100 calls were really just me getting the lay of the land. I started out charging $30 for an hour-long conversation. I remember my busiest day was 7 calls in an entire day. I was practically a full-time customer support agent for TikTok at that point. I tried to make myself as much of an open book as possible. We could brainstorm content ideas, draft an influencer campaign, troubleshoot profile issues. One of the first few people that scheduled these calls was actually the owner of a pretty well-known real estate brokerage with something like 200 plus agents, and this connection would prove to be a huge changing point later on in this story. In the meantime, I started working on my master plan to build out an empire of TikTok theme pages that I would monetize in the short term and in the long term flip these for a profit. I know it's such a classic social media hustle, but it paid off well, as you'll see. I had an ASMR Sand account, 2 Cristiano Ronaldo accounts, a Minecraft account, a Laugh Factory account, and then an Among Us account when that game gained huge popularity. Obviously, I didn't grow all these myself. I don't have that bandwidth. What I actually did was outsource the creative process to an editor that I paid $150 a week to output 3 to 4 videos on the profile each week. The key to finding these editors, in my opinion, and I had a different one for every profile, is to find smaller accounts in the same category that you want to build a theme page in, and then offer to reach out to them and pay them for what they already do. The end of January rolls around, and with that marked the launch of TikTok Creator Pro, which was a private paid community that I'd been building out for the past few months. I'd been getting a lot of requests from creators to start some kind of a group outside of the platform for driven creators to network who were interested in finding unique ways to leverage the platform. My intention behind all of this wasn't actually to make money, as antithetical as that kind of sounds to my entire goal and the theme of this video. As we'll reveal a little bit later, I actually didn't make a whole lot from TikTok Creator Pro compared to other revenue streams. I never promoted the group beyond just a few mentions in my own YouTube videos.
Tastes like promotion!
That was intentional. I didn't want tire kickers to join who somehow would think this was their magic ticket to TikTok fame. A lot of our traffic came from members who would share their successes on TikTok, which triggered a flywheel effect of results fueling signups, making this a pretty passive income stream throughout the entire year. We had members joining pretty much every week, with the exception of 1 month, which we're gonna get into a little bit later. February and March roll around, and I start to leverage sponsorship opportunities for the theme accounts that I'd been building. Most agencies and brands actually won't even partner or consider looking at accounts that have less than 100,000 followers. So once I crossed that threshold, I started getting weekly opportunities in my inbox. When it comes to TikTok, there are really three different methods of being sponsored. First, you have sound promotions, where you might utilize someone's audio in your videos. I was able to land a few high-paying sound promotions simply by being active in certain Discord groups. A lot of musicians on TikTok will actually leverage Discord groups as a way of distributing their audio to the TikTok masses. They might say something like, for the next 10 accounts over 1 million followers, I'll pay $500 if you use my audio. Discord members will bid back and forth, and whoever provides the best bang for the musician's buck will take the cake. Product integrations are also a very, very common sponsorship method on TikTok. This usually entails featuring or highly reviewing a product in your videos. For example, I partnered with a kinetic sand brand for one of the theme accounts I used to run. I've got boxes and boxes of these that I'll probably never ever use, but the company paid me a handsome commission up front, and I also got a percentage of the sales that were made through the link in my bio. Finally, there are paid shoutouts. One of the things I initially did was list one of the bigger theme accounts I ran on Fiverr, just to see if people were interested in leveraging the account to boost their own following. I charged $200 for a 24-hour shoutout in the video, after which I would make the video private. I had the occasional order dripping in, nothing really to write home about. You can tell I really tried to milk these accounts for everything that I could. And I did this for a few months until it came time to sell them. Selling these accounts was a challenge. Take my advice, never do it on a social media marketplace. Those platforms are just breeding grounds for scammers.
You have been scammed.
My tactic that proved to be pretty successful was to find other account owners in the same niche as myself and sell it to them, basically helping them to further build out their niche monopoly. I found that the going rate for a TikTok account is about $150 to $200 per every 10,000 followers. So for a 100,000 follower account, you'd be lucky if you made the sale for $2,000. Buyers are not going to understand the effort that you put into growing the account. They're only going to see the numbers, so you're always going to get less for it than you hoped.
It's not about the numbers.
Make sure you always deal over a recorded Zoom call, never send wire transfers, and make sure you get the buyer's personal social media accounts ahead of time so that there's some accountability. Over the entire year, account flipping generated me a profit of $16,300. Around April, I began dabbling a little bit with shrooms. No, I began dabbling with TikTok ads. Up until this point, TikTok was not yet realized to be this incredible platform for e-commerce or business, and I thought it would be a prime time to learn how to run TikTok ad campaigns. I don't know if it was just coincidence or pure luck, but I woke up the next morning to find a DM in my inbox from the owner of the real estate brokerage I consulted with earlier in the year, whose team had apparently been watching my videos and were wondering if I had experience with TikTok ads. By this point, I'd blown through roughly $1,500 of my own money just playing around with ads for fun, and I'd also successfully managed a few really small campaigns for a friend. I spent the entire next morning drafting a video pitch of what the campaign would entail, ideas for creatives, how we would also boost their organic growth on TikTok. I remember going so overkill with ideas, and I know I just sold myself short when it came to pricing when I said I would do all this for approximately $4,000 a month for 2 months. But they agreed, and I got to work.
Now let's do this!
Everything was going so well at this point. I landed not only one big client, but soon after 2 others the very next week.
Yeah, boy.
I recently sold a theme page for $3,500 and raised my consultation pricing to $70 an hour due to high demand, and was knocking out 3 to 4 of those every single day from 1 to 5 p.m. I was on fire, the top of my game, until I wasn't. May rolls around, and the very first week, I ended up moving out of necessity. I'm not going to get into details, but those are always such hard transitions. I had to leave behind and say goodbye to my old studio, which was basically my entire brand image at this point. And for over a month, I didn't have a single place to professionally conduct business out of or film. I considered leasing a few local offices, but never really pulled the trigger on those decisions. The Roni Rona decided to come knocking on my door during this time, which prompted me to close down my consultation calendar for a solid 2 weeks. The local internet company decided to take 5 weeks to install Wi-Fi.
Call corporate, and I call corporate, and you say out of tap.
I get it, first world problems, I know, but you can't deny that it's such a killjoy for any business that is strictly internet dependent. What I ended up doing was driving each morning to the local library, sitting in their parking lot, and trying to siphon off their absolutely weak Wi-Fi signal just to jump on client calls, do consultations once again, and manage our TikTok Creator Pro community, which, you guessed it, had also stagnated during this time. And to add insult to injury, someone had taken a lot of my YouTube content, refilmed it verbatim, repackaged it as some TikTok course, and tried to pass it off as their own. And the worst part was that they were actually having success. I reached out to them about it, but then they started buying dislikes on my YouTube videos. I was just feeling so overwhelmed and frustrated at this point. It may not seem like a whole lot was happening, but I'm someone who thrives and is productive when I'm in a predictable environment and there's a reliable routine that I can count on. Order! Order! Perhaps that's all to my own detriment, but at least for this month, that was the last thing that was happening. All things considered, the month barely brought in any income, but the last day approached and I told myself I was going to have a mental reset and I was going to do everything that I could to have some kind of a financial comeback. Time passed and I grew older. Wait, what? That's not the script. Back up. Internet was back. I found a perfect place to literally build out a new studio, unfortunately right when lumber prices were at an all-time high, and for some reason, consultations came flooding in. It was at this point that I thought to myself, how can I scale this further? What I decided to do was over the next 3 months, every single morning, I would send out a pitch video to some established business I found on Instagram that didn't have any footprint on TikTok, but I thought they had serious potential to start generating sales from the app. My offer to them was to help them grow an organic 100,000 followers completely from scratch and help them start to generate sales from TikTok. I sent out, here are the numbers, 132 pitch videos. I landed 9 of these as actual clients, earning an average of $3,000 from each, plus or minus a few hundred, depending on extra projects I may have tacked on. Now, not everything was unicorns and rainbows at this time. There was one client experience that I distinctly remember where we connected over the phone, absolutely hit it off. We were excited to build out an account, and I completely passed over setting expectations. I did not do my due diligence in qualifying them. And fast forward a few weeks later, when we weren't getting a viral video every single day, they asked for a full refund.
I'm out.
And I complied. It was a bit of a kick in the teeth, I'll admit, but I just took this mini failure as one of those fundamental building blocks that would go on to help me create a better client experience next time around. Over the next few months, I continued with TikTok growth services, or coaching as I called it, and I managed to spearhead 5 different TikTok advertising campaigns, which I really enjoy this process, to be honest. I always like to try to find a way to gamify everything, and I think running ads really played to my natural interest of wanting to find the best combination between creative, visuals, targeting, and copy. This was by far my highest ticketed service as of yet, and one I'll definitely continue scaling. This, combined with TikTok growth services for the entire year, generated me a profit of $68,500. Towards the end of the year, I really started to feel overwhelmed with just all these little projects I was involved in. To be honest, I was kind of waiting for this creator burnout to kick in. I decided to stop the growth on all the theme accounts, the 2 I had left, and just focus on my current client roster and the consultations, which I'd increased to $125 an hour. I've always had this thesis about online education. By virtue of simply putting yourself out there and sharing what you know, you are inevitably going to have people that are willing to seek you out on a higher level and pay you to pick your brain about their situation. I've seen this be the case for nearly every industry out there: music teachers, mechanics, authors, lawyers. So really don't be afraid to simply start sharing what you already know. All right, performance review time. Let's total everything up. Actually, who am I even kidding? This is all sheet music. In total, I ended up doing over 1,000 individual TikTok consultations, which generated me a profit of $63,300 over the entire year. I've had some pretty crazy stories with these calls as well. Like one time someone scheduled a call and I found out that the guy lived just 2 blocks down from me out of anywhere in the world. Another time, some troll found a way to pay with fake credit card information and ended up scheduling a call for every single day of the next week. Of course, never showed up. Profit strictly from the TikTok Creator Fund was $4,330 across 3 different accounts that I was able to monetize. TikTok Creator Pro, which was our private paid community, generated $32,000 in sales. Account flipping was $16,400, and TikTok sponsorships totaled $22,800. Now, I don't really recommend doing what I did in leapfrogging all over the place from one monetization avenue to another. There were many times throughout the year where I felt I was just stretching myself far too thin.
But I scraped over too much bread.
One of the things I will be implementing in 2022 is to focus and hone my efforts in on just maybe 2 to 3 monetization avenues. Honestly, anyone with a bit more of a knack of a brain than me probably could have taken any one of these past $100,000 a year in profit. In fact, just as a proof of concept, one of the creators who I initially connected with was doing over $10,000 a month just by posting 15 to 20 meme review videos per day on TikTok, and they were pulling in over 1 million views each. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity. Looking back in retrospect, there really wasn't any quintessential magic pill that I could attribute as the formula for what this year achieved. I really just feel we're in a culture, a society of information overload, especially with TikTok and social media. There are too many consumers, too much execution depletion. Human beings are momentum creatures. As cliche as it sounds, I really do believe the most important thing is just to give yourself momentum by taking that first step, whether that's starting a business, uploading content, or hey, sharing a story. It certainly takes a while to fully develop any one of these things and to even learn the basics, which I'm still doing myself. But you'll notice after a while, your previous efforts, they'll start to all compound, and then growth will happen all of a sudden at an exponential rate. Keep in mind, I'd been on TikTok for over a year before any of this. So my final word to you really is this: stop consuming, start doing, don't worry about a perfect plan, and don't give up if you're not seeing results, because you might just be an inch away from striking gold.